Family to me is the feeling of safety without even understanding the concept. I think that's what my parents gave me. That's what I hope to give to my kid. Being like air that you just don't even think about it until it's threatened. There are so many points in my life that I could have felt unsafe, but I was like guarded. Every kid deserves that, and I know that's not the case, but that's what I hope to be. Okay, so I'm actually so grateful for this and to be invited on this podcast because it inspired me to touch base with my mom, for her to touch base with my dad's cousin, who's an editor and like a journalist in this Armenian newspaper here in Glendale. And because like, and maybe, you know, people can relate to this, but especially like in Armenian culture, they don't talk about this stuff. They just don't talk about it. And there's so much there to unpack. But they always just look forward. They're not very nostalgic. I mean, my parents specifically. So it's like pulling teeth, getting information, you know? So finally, like, you know, one of many times, like again, the last few days I talked to my mom about this, and she reached out to my dad's cousin, and I got this article that she wrote from the perspective of my great-grandmother.
Your mother wrote?
My dad's cousin,
right. Okay.
Who's the journalist. Okay. I know, this is going to get confusing. So as of like the last 48 hours, it goes back to my story, or my knowledge of it goes back to my great-grandmother. Actually, I discovered yesterday that my great-great-grandmother's name is Frida, which is really tickled me because I'd never known that name in the Armenian community. So that was like as far back as I've ever gone. But it's just her name. I don't know anything else about her.
But still, that's powerful, right?
It's so powerful in ways that I just didn't really even expect. But, so I'll give you the spiel that I've learned in the last 48 hours. So my great-grandmother, Nuritsa, was born in Entebbe, which was, modern-day Turkey. And she woke up one day to hearing sounds in the street of basically men yelling, either change your religion or change your location. You have 24 hours. And so her and her family, they get back on the back of like these donkey carts that are meant for like 2 people each. They're like loading young kids and elderly women and such, like, and they start traveling on foot. She goes on foot to basically get away from the city, but they keep getting intercepted and like taken to these camps to get like, you know, incinerated or whatever, and like flee and get gathered again and taken to another camp. And so she goes from Entebbe to a town called Urfa, to a town called Homs in Syria. And then her grandfather gets freed because he was a veterinarian and farmer, and they needed his skills. Mm-hmm. And so, but she still gets rounded up. A lot of her family gets rounded up, taken to Deir Zur, which is another town in Syria. Her father liberated her somehow, and they made their way to Deir Zur as well, which is I guess the last destination on this like convoy of the genocide. And
this is all either on foot or on donkey. Or...
Yeah, I mean, this was basically all on foot, I think, for her. It's part of the death marches that happened through the Syrian desert in 1915 about. And so apparently the population in Deir Zur was sympathetic to Armenians, and the mayor freed everyone they liberated the Armenians. And they even started an orphanage there for young children that were became orphans of the genocide. And she resettled there, had my grandmother. She was just 40 days old when there's some violence erupted again, and these French soldiers guided them to Aleppo. And that's where she settled, and that's where they lived. That's where my father was born. That's where I was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So basically, our diaspora was in Aleppo because of this, and that was on my dad's side. My mom's side it was like a similar story, but she was actually taken to one of those orphanages, and she met her husband because he was like there to like audit the orphanages, and they met each other, they married, traveled to Aleppo, and settled there. So my mom's side and my dad's side were from Aleppo. You said that you were just listening to my record. Like, I don't know if you noticed or got this far, but like there's even a clip of my mom talking. So she's, in that recording, she's speaking in Armenian, but she's describing having been moved when she was 7 from Aleppo to be taken to an orphanage in Lebanon by her mom to escape her dad, who was violent and aggressive. And the law then was that the dad could legally take the kids once they turned 7 from the mom.
Oh, wow.
So she took her to Lebanon, placed her in this orphanage to protect her. My mom was put in this orphanage, and my mom and my grandmother, they were really, really close. So it was really difficult emotionally for them. And my grandmother, she stayed in Beirut near the orphanage with family and would go visit her during like visiting hours, visiting days.
So completely left the husband.
Completely left family, husband, their community, to basically just like keep her hidden in this orphanage and protect her. And that's where my mom was raised by her mother until my mom was connected to my dad, who is in Aleppo. So she made her way back to Aleppo. And so she made her way back to Aleppo, but my dad had taken a job in Saudi Arabia. So they were kind of like pen pals. My mom was staying with my dad's family there in Aleppo. Eventually joined him in Saudi Arabia, and had my brothers in Saudi Arabia, had me in Syria just because they wanted to like move back to Syria so I could be, born around the rest of our family after 2 siblings not being born around the family. But otherwise, I grew up in Saudi Arabia with my family.
Wow.
I hope that made sense.
It does. What an incredible story.
I like crammed in these last few
Wow. But
few
some
hours.
of this you only recently learned.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's like pulling teeth, like getting information. I don't know if it's a generational thing or a cultural thing, but like there's no nostalgia. They don't really revisit their past. I have to like ask over and over again, which is why I insisted on recording my mom this time. I was like, okay, we're getting it down. I'm not going to lose the details. I really want to understand this and revisit it. Yeah. Because also my memory is terrible. So like, I just want to hold on to this.
I think a lot of people with trauma don't want to relive it by telling it, which makes sense. I mean, I know my mother had tried to ask her parents and her grandparents stories about, they're all Jewish. None of them were in the Holocaust or anything, but they have incredible stories about being immigrants in New York and stuff like that. And even that stuff, they just never wanted to talk about. She doesn't know so much. Yeah. And I think it's because there are hard things and people maybe of that generation or those generations just don't want to talk about it.
But they're so casual about it too. It's like when you were talking about your relationship with your dad, it's like there's this instinct to be like, no, it's fine. It's nothing. Oh, it doesn't matter. Why look back? You just look ahead. But I'm such a nostalgic person that I really miss my childhood, and so like I couldn't let it go. And eventually I got to an age where I was curious about my parents, because that takes time too.
It does, I know. I mean, I could have interviewed my grandparents until well into my 20s, and I can't believe I didn't. Yeah.
Do you know that show Master of None, where Aziz Ansari talks about, he's just like, we go our whole lives without even like considering our parents' childhood,
Yeah, the curiosity.
So it took,
But why, you said you're nostalgic for your childhood. Do you miss your childhood?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you miss about it?
I think just the feeling of feeling like safe and protected and taken care of, and just being a kid and having this built-in social network of family. In Syria, even though we were raised in Saudi Arabia, we'd go to Syria once or twice a year. Christmas and summers usually, and it was like, 30 people or something, all family members, which is unheard of now for me. Like I'm more or less on my own here in LA. But having like this built-in social group of family where you just like, you don't even consider if you like each other or don't like each other, you belong together. And I don't know, there's this like, I don't know, this buffer, this safety net, or I don't know, you just felt protected. And I think that's why. And even like having grown up in Saudi Arabia during the Gulf War and going to school with a gas mask and, things like that. I always felt safe. I always felt protected. I was so lucky to have a true childhood where I didn't have to think about those things. And it was kind of a unique upbringing in that, like, I was, even though my parents weren't American, we were put in an American school. So my dad was there in Saudi Arabia to work. He went as an electrician, worked his way up in this like compound structure where we basically became residents because he worked there. And it was meant for expats that were like teaching at this American school. We eventually went to this American school. And so English was more or less my first language. And my parents would speak to us in Armenian. We'd speak back in English. They would learn English from us. It was such a strange exchange. And so, yeah, it was really unique in that way.
Yeah. And when did you move to America?
So we moved to America in 1995. My family won the green card lottery.
It's an actual thing.
It's a real thing. You've ever heard of it?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, so it's just like you apply and there's just like this random...
so only so many people are going to get it.
It's really, really unlikely. My dad didn't even want to apply. He was trying to move us to Canada. And he couldn't get a citizenship there. His friend suggested to apply for the American citizenship. And my dad responded in a way I always think about still. He said, I don't want to move to America. That's a business, not a country. Which was like, damn. Even today, I'm like, wow, Dad. And his friend was like, just apply, you probably won't get it. And so he applied and we got it right away. And thank God we did, because I'm not sure what would have happened. I think because American school only went to a certain grade and my brothers were approaching that grade. So I think at that point, I don't know, maybe he would have moved us back to Syria or something.
Right.
I'm not sure, which would have complicated our lives a lot.
Wow. And straight to LA?
No. So we moved to Massachusetts for 1 year.
Oh, where in Mass?
Belmont.
Okay.
Which is, I think there's a lot of Armenians there. And then that didn't work out. He moved us to Houston, Texas. So I went to Houston for like middle school and high school. I left as soon as I could because we were like really deep in the suburbs there. And so I left for college, and then I bounced around as much as I could, basically used like college as an excuse to like travel. I started in LA for a couple of years at like this like junior college, and then went to, I met a friend from Kentucky. I followed her and her mom to Kentucky. I followed her to Ann Arbor briefly. I eventually went to SCAD College in Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And studied sound design. Graduated there, moved back to LA on my own to pursue sound editing, which is what I'd been doing until music.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what an incredible like whirlwind American tour.
Oh my God, yeah.
And not just like New York, Chicago, LA, like Savannah.
Yeah. I don't think I have it in me to do New York. I'm like so impressed by anyone that does
It's
New York.
great. New York is great. Wow. I mean,
I know there's so much there. I'm honestly, I can't believe I actually got through all that.
It's kind of incredible. And so where does music fit into all this? Do you come from a musical family? With a lot of those 30 people playing music at those events that you remember?
Dad.
Yeah.
My dad's kind of a character. He played music growing up. He was kind of an MC. He's like hilarious, and he just has a natural gift of like, I don't know, presenting and talking. And but he played music. He was in bands. And my mom really forced music on me. I was not that into it, but she forced piano on me since I was 5. And I got like pretty decent at it. And so she really wanted me to stick to it. But as soon as we moved from Saudi Arabia to the United States, it was kind of like my out and my way of rebelling against them because I was so upset at moving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like really traumatic for me. So that was my way of rebelling, is like quitting piano. But then in high school later on, I discovered the guitar through a friend. I just like learned a few chords and just like would write here and there. I never took it very seriously. I'd go to open mics here and there, but I never thought it was something I could like do like as a career or anything like that. So that's why I was mostly interested in sound design, because it felt like a way I could kind of, I don't know, a realistic way to like work with music and sound.
Right.
Yeah.
So remind me again, you said the recording of your mother is her sort of playing somebody else, recounting.
Well, she's telling her own story. She's telling her own story. Yeah, she's telling her own story about her mom picking up and leaving Aleppo to take her to Beirut and place her in this orphanage. And she told me about how her mom would basically, I built a song around this because I thought it was so stunning. Her mom would sit out on this balcony after she placed her in this orphanage. And the orphanage was right on the coast of Beirut. This is a beautiful location that my mom has showed me since.
Wow.
It was called the Bird's Nest. And her mother would sit on this balcony and just like feel the wind from the coast, and she would say this thing to the effect of like, waves fold over and send her scent to me from what I translated as send her scent to me from the rugged waves of the Mediterranean to the bars of my balcony. So basically it's her like just longing for her daughter, but like putting her there for her own safety and just like missing her very, very deeply, making this really difficult decision to place her in this orphanage.
Yeah, and she was nearby, it sounds like, relatively.
Yeah, it sounds, yeah.
Did she visit her?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. I think like maybe weekly they had like really specific visiting hours, and my mom would just
sounds like prison. That's crazy. I mean,
I
happier
know.
Than that, but still, and for a good reason. But.
I mean, I think my mom would just like count the minutes to see her mom again, and they would, my mom would like, have a visitation from her mother, and then just would be weeping when she had to leave. And this happened like regularly until she was like, I think, a young teenager.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's hard for you to maybe know or answer this question, but how do you think that affected your relationship growing up with your mother?
I don't know. My mom was pretty strict. It wasn't until like more recently that we became so close and more like friendly, like because we were very, very close. And I think maybe having a daughter of my own changed that too, because she all of a sudden became so available to us. Because like my dad retired from Saudi Arabia, and his plan was always to retire in Syria, but because of the war there, a lot of my family had picked up and moved to Armenia. So there was this like kind of great return to Armenia. And so my parents retired in Armenia, which made it really difficult to touch base with them.
Yeah.
Even Saudi was like, I would visit Saudi until they retired every time I toured Europe. But Armenia is like a little bit trickier to get to. And it's also, to be honest, kind of a culture shock for me, because the culture is really different.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of the diaspora that has like adapted to Syria or Lebanon, it's a different dialect. The food is different, culture is different, everything, because like Armenia was a Soviet country for so long, so everything had this kind of like Russian residue. And so, I'd only visited Armenia since they were retired like twice. And I'm due for another visit, but it's kind of a culture shock to me, even though I'm Armenian, which is whole another conversation, so confusing.
Right.
But to answer your question, I think having a kid, like, was the impetus, I think, for her spending so much time with me in LA visit. She came, it was supposed to be a few months. She came and stayed with us for a year.
Oh, incredible.
And I think that's also like cultural. It's just a given.
Yeah.
Which was such a blessing. And I think, it just like deepened our friendship.
Yeah.
More so.
And there's a huge, relatively huge Armenian population in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Little Armenia.
Yeah.
Is it easy to connect with people? Do you feel a connection with people?
It's usually, I don't feel like in my immediate surroundings, like being in East LA, but I do have some, like my dad's cousin is in Glendale, and her son, who we grew up, we were in Aleppo together at one point, and he's a violinist, really talented. So I see him but mostly when my parents are in town, because otherwise we're kind of like busy, I don't know, at a time in our lives where we're like kind of doing our own thing and finding our footing in our careers and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, I feel a little bit removed from the community here. And a lot of it also is to do with the dialect. The dialect here tends to be Eastern Armenian, whereas people that have immigrated, from the genocide are Western Armenian.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a barrier there.
I get this when I get in Ubers here.
Yeah.
Only here in Los Angeles they go, Nabil.
Yes.
In this really excited tone. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I get it too. But I try to hang in there conversationally. I eventually have to be like, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Backing up a bit, but I'm curious when you moved to Massachusetts, you were a teenager at the time,
I was
right?
10.
10. Oh, wow. I mean, you must have felt totally different and so out of your depth. And what did that feel like being a 10-year-old moving to such a different place?
It was so traumatic. It was so traumatic. And I think I'm still like unpacking what that did to me. And it sucks because now I understand that my parents did everything for us. But I made it so hard on them because I was just such an angsty 10, 11, 12-year-old. It took me a couple of years to let go of the fact that they dragged me away from my home and everything I knew. And because Saudi Arabia, you wouldn't think this, but it was such an idyllic environment, living in this compound for expats. It was all I knew at the time, and we only lived there because my dad worked for this company. But it was so contained. I remember in Boston on Halloween, I was so confused. I was so I just walk. When do I know when to stop? Where are the walls? I just walk forever.
Oh, wow.
I just didn't understand
walls?
Where are the walls? Because it was just so contained in our compound in Saudi Arabia. And it was basically a little America,
And probably much safer than
it was very
the bigger America. Right? Lots of places.
Yeah. And it was just, it had to be, and then American compounds eventually became targets in Saudi Arabia. So they weren't so safe after a while. But we had moved away since then. But yeah, it was confusing in that sense, just because that kind of environment was all I knew.
Yeah.
And confusing in all kinds of other ways, just the weather and
the
snow and I don't know, schools, and I don't know. It was just so different.
Yeah. What is family to you?
Family to me is the feeling of safety without even understanding the concept. That's what it is. I think that's what my parents gave me. That's what I hope to give to my kid. And being like air that you just don't even think about it until it's threatened. There are so many points in my life that I could have felt unsafe, but I was guarded from. And I think every kid deserves that, and I know that's not the case, but you know, that's what I hope to be.